Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be the Finally Fall book tag. It's November, so it's been fall for like 2 months now, but I'm doing this tag now. So if you want to see what I picked for these prompts, just keep on watching. The first prompt is, in the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. For this, I chose The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. The Hazelwood is a fantasy duology. I think it's YA fantasy. It might be adult, but I think it's YA. And it follows Alice, who is a high school student who has lived with her mom, and they've kind of been nomadic and moving a lot her whole life. They have what Alice calls bad luck following them. And Alice's grandmother wrote this book of really twisted fairy tales. And Alice always thought it was just a book, and then one day in high school the fairy tale creatures come out and kidnap her mom, and she has to go find her mom, and she realizes perhaps the Hinterwood is a real place and it's not just fairy tale. So that's what the first book sort of follows, and the second book goes from there. There's also a companion novel following one of the side characters in the series, which was pretty interesting. I read these books this year and I really enjoyed them and would highly recommend them. But the setting of both New York City in this like very drab area is very vivid, as well as the actual hinterland, which is where the fairy tale creatures live. And it's like this alternate dimension type thing, and you have to get to it through the woods in her grandmother's house, and it's just very interesting. And it does have a really cool setting. The second prompt is, nature is beautiful but also dying, and it is to pick a book that is beautifully written but deals with a heavy topic, like death or grief. And for this book, I chose Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a book written in verse, and it follows two perspectives of girls who are sisters. They have the same dad. One of them is living in the Dominican Republic. Her name is Camino. And the other girl is Yahaira, and she lives in New York City with her dad. And neither of the girls know of the other one's existence. Their dad splits his time between them, and he dies in a plane crash that I believe is actually based on a real plane crash. It was like 90% Dominican people were on the plane. So it is based on that real event. And it's just how these girls discover now that they have a sister, they have another person related to them that they didn't even know about. And it's them dealing with the grief of losing their dad, but also the grief of knowing that their dad lied to them their whole lives. And having to sort of come together as sisters even though they don't know each other, and just like the fact that you thought you were this man's only child and now you have to share his memory with someone else. And it was just handled in a really beautiful way. If you can, I would recommend listening to it as an audiobook. The third prompt is, fall is back to school season. Name a book that taught you something. And I think it specifically said name a nonfiction that taught you something. So I have two. And in the spirit of back to school, I thought I would share books that taught me something a long time ago. So when I first started reading nonfiction, I started reading self-help books, and I think I was like 16, probably 16 or 17. And I got two here to show you from the like dollar section of half-price books. Number one is Poes Heart and the Mountain Climber, and this is about analyzing what happens in your brain when you're having a panic attack. Basically, I had several panic attacks in high school, and I didn't know what was happening to me. So for me, reading this book was really helpful. That said, I did give it to a friend, or loan it to a friend in high school who also was dealing with anxiety, and she said that she couldn't get through it. So it's kind of science heavy, but I really enjoyed this book and would highly recommend it. It's by Richard Restack, MD. So I've never really heard anybody talk about these. He has several in this series. He has one about depression as well. But the reference to Poes Heart is from that short story, I think. What is it called? The Telltale Heart. So, yeah. And then the second one is The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. This is basically, this woman decided one day, I guess, to make 12 different resolutions for every month instead of for a year. One is like master a new technology, aim higher, exercise better, stuff like that. And it was her attempt at making her life better, but everything she did, she used for herself. And the big thing that I think I learned in this book, or the thing that I still remember about it vividly today, is she has one section where she talks about, at this point, I think she's a mom with like kids and stuff, and she talks about how frustrating and disappointing it is when you are trying to get other people to do things for you that you want to get done. And so she said that rather than assigning tasks for her kids to do that were things that she really wanted to do, she would just do them herself. Because she wasn't really satisfied with the way that her husband loaded the dishwasher, or she wasn't really satisfied with the way that her kids folded her clothes when she had them fold the laundry. So she assigned other tasks to them to do as chores, because chores are important for kids, right? And obviously, if you live with someone, you want them to share an equal amount in the responsibilities of the home upkeep. But she made it a point to doing things that she cared about the way that they were done herself. And it made her happier because she wasn't frustrated with the way things were being done, and she also wasn't frustrated with the fact that other people weren't doing things the way that she thought they should be done, because the tasks that she would assign them, like, I don't know, vacuuming, they did fine, and she didn't care about the process of which that was being done. So I thought that was really interesting, and that's something that I've tried to be mindful of and apply in my own life, just because, especially now I'm like cohabitating with someone, there are certain things that like I want done a certain way, and when I want something done, I don't want to sit there and ask someone else to do it. I would rather just do it. And that's not to say that I do all the chores, because we have sort of discussed what chores are ours and what chores are the other person's. But it just gets to a point where you get frustrated waiting for someone else to do something when they don't care if it gets done, and you do, so you should be the one to handle it. I don't know. Obviously, that doesn't work in every situation, and I'm sure a lot of you are staying at home because I don't think I explained it very well, but that's what I remember really taking away from this book. So those are two like self-help, older, backlisted nonfictions that I would kind of recommend. The fourth book is To Keep Warm. It's good to spend time with people we love, and the prompt is to pick a book with a family, found family, or friend group that you would like to be a part of. And for this, I picked House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Primarily the very beginning of this book, before any of the tragedy happens. I would love to be friends with Fury and Danica. Is that her name? And Bryce. Yes? Am I crazy? It's been a while since I've read this. Yes, Danica, Bryce, Fury, and I can't remember the other one, the one who's half fawn and she's a ballet dancer. But I'm terrible at remembering people's names. But I would love to be friends with them. It sounds like they have a lot of fun together, and that is the type of found family that I would like to be a part of. So, this was my first Sarah J. Maas book ever. Oh, this is totally random and not related to this video at all, but my boyfriend's mom for my birthday got me the entire Throne of Glass series. Not Throne of Glass. ACOTAR. The entire A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I'm pretty sure it's all of them. So, yes. I have that now. So look forward to that if you care about that kind of thing. Okay, the next prompt. The next prompt is colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines. So for that, I have some green and some orange, some yellow, and some brown, and some red. One red. But those are my fall-colored spines. I have more. I guess I could have held this up too because it's red, but anyways. The sixth prompt is fall is the perfect time to tell stories by the fire. Name a book wherein a character is telling a story. And for this, I just picked the obvious one, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is an adult fantasy series that was never completed, so I only have the first book. I read it. I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to keep reading without the series ever finishing, so I'm probably not going to continue on in the series until the third book is released. I'm assuming it's a trilogy. I don't really know. But this follows Kvothe, who is like the greatest wizard of all time or something in this fantasy world. And this is primarily him telling the story to a group of people at a bar. Him being the greatest wizard of all time. I assume he's gone missing for some time because he's like surprised that they know who he is or whatever. But because he's like a legend kind of. But yes, in this he is spending 3 days at this bar telling his story in 3 parts. So it's literally him. This is 1 day of him telling his story. Which I have a feeling if you got an audiobook of this, it would be longer than 24 hours. So is that realistic? I don't think so. Did you hear that? Sorry about that. Our next door neighbors are getting a fence built. And I don't know. It sounded like a door in our house slammed, which was kind of creepy. But it was not a door in our house. So I don't know. Anyways, that was that one. All right. Is that where I was? That's gonna have to do it. Okay. The 7th prompt is The Nights Are Getting Darker. Name a dark and creepy read. For that, I picked Nosferatu by Joe Hill, which is my favorite horror of the year. This came out several years ago, but you know what I mean? I mean, it's the best one that I've read this year. Joe Hill is actually the son of Stephen King, which I didn't know until like 2 weeks ago, maybe longer than that, but way after I read this. I thought this worked better than any Stephen King book I've ever read, besides maybe Carrie. But this is fantastic. It follows Victoria McQueen, who is at the beginning of this book, she's a child and she rides her bike and discovers that if she rides across this like broken bridge, she can go anywhere and find things. And it's called an inscape in the story. I don't really know if that's like a real thing or not, but I digress. But anything that she's looking for, she can find. And one day she finds her bike again when she's a teenager and she goes looking for trouble. And she finds this man, Carl Manx, who drives around in a 1928 Wraith. Is that what it is? It's a Rolls-Royce Wraith, which is like an old school limo, like a really expensive old school limo. And that is his inscape. So he puts kids in the back of his car and drives them around and takes them to this place called Christmas Land, where he can like suck their souls and stay young forever or something, is like the gist of it. But Victoria McQueen finds him and she's the only child to ever escape him. And then we flash forward to the future and she has a son who Charles Manx comes to get. And the story goes on from there. But this was so creepy, so dark. But yes, I did quite enjoy this book. I loved it, actually. Prompt 8 is the days are getting colder. Name a quick or short book that is heartwarming. That wasn't exactly what was written, but I had decided that I was no longer going to look at my sheet. So for this, I chose To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I haven't read this, full disclosure. It's not as short as I thought it was going to be either. Oh, it's got like recipes in the back. This is 350 pages. That's not long. That's fine. That's pretty short from where I'm standing. But this is a heartwarming movie, so I imagine it will be a heartwarming book. I can't wait to pick this up. So this follows Laura Jean, who, when she has a crush on a boy, she writes a letter to him, basically saying, I love you so much. This is why. Your eyes are so beautiful. I met you in this time. Da 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 da. And then she puts in an envelope. And for some reason, she like addresses and stamps the envelopes, but she puts them in a hat box that she keeps in her closet. And one day, her box of letters is missing, and she finds out that they've been sent. And so her sister's ex-boyfriend gets one of the letters, and he goes to her high school. And to prevent him from confronting her about the letter, she gets one of the other boys who had the letter. Peter Kavinsky got one of the letters and is like, hey, I'm flattered, but I'm really not interested in you. Because I think they kissed at a party in like 6th grade or something, and now they're like 16 or 17. But Laura Jean is like, you know what? We'll fake date. Actually, I think it's his idea to whatever. They end up fake dating. I love fake dating. I want to read this so badly. I don't know how different it will be from the movie, but girl, I love this kind of stuff. I eat this kind of stuff up for breakfast. The 9th prompt is fall returns every year. Name a book that is an old favorite that you would like to return to soon. So since it says old favorite, I went ahead and said A Tale of Two Cities, because I do tend to reread this usually in the winter, early springtime, like around January, February, March, somewhere in there. But yes, this is one that I'm going to be returning to probably the beginning of 2021 at some point in the first quarter. And the 10th prompt is fall is the perfect time for cozy reading. So name a few of your favorite cozy reading accessories. And for this, I'm gonna have to go with hot drinks. So this is coffee, but tea works. I really like an herbal tea. I really like a green tea. I really like a black tea, like a breakfast tea. Hot chocolate also works. I find that I can drink other hot drinks all year round. I can only drink hot chocolate if it's like actually cold out. And by actually cold, I mean under 45 degrees. If it's above 45 degrees, I'm not getting a hot chocolate. Delicious. Another one for me, at least, is cozy socks. I love to have on some warm fuzzy socks when I'm reading. I also find that I have a pink reading chair. If you've been on this channel for a while, you remember the pink chair. I used to film all my videos in it. I no longer do that, obviously. I've changed filming setups so many times. But that, I think, is a perfect little accessory, like having a spot to read. And I think a good candle. So if you're in the mood for a sweet scent, I recommend Vanilla Blackberry by DW Home. It smells extremely sweet after you blow it out, but while it's burning, it's pretty subtle. If you're in the mood for more of a spicy scent, I recommend Christmas Cheer. This is very cinnamon forward. It's like cinnamon and cloves. This is by Opal House. And as you can see, we've burned almost all of this. So we need to get another cinnamony, clovey scent this year. And if you're in the mood for just like a neutral, clean scent, I recommend Silver Birch by Yankee Candle. This is such a nice, like, it's not quite laundry smelling, but it does smell just like slightly musky and clean. So I really, really like this one as well. This is my newest candle, obviously. But yeah, that was a finally fall book tag. The last prompt is to tag people, but as it is the middle of November, I'm not going to tag anybody. If you haven't done this tag and you want to, congratulations, you've been tagged. You can do it if you would like, but I'm not going to tag anybody to do this. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for sticking with me through this. If you did like this, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to, you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do post 2 new videos every single week on Sunday and Thursdays on books and beauty primarily. So if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, I would love if you would give me a subscription, a follow, I don't know. I also have my social medias linked in the description box down below in case you are curious about any of those. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!